Hello, everyone. I'm Tash Mitch, and I'm here with Alexandra Wenman, and we are going to be talking about divine alchemy. I actually came across Alexandra's work, and I was just so excited because there's so much synergy with what I did. And then we had one short meeting previously, and it was the meeting of a soul sister. And for me, when that happens, it's kind of like everything is just joyful about it. So, welcome.
Thank you, Tash. Thank you for having me here. This is wonderful. I do just, God, I already feel it's such lovely vibes going on today. It's
Yes.
really great that we're having this conversation. So thank you so much for getting in touch.
Uh, so basically, with regards to divine alchemy, words are such a thing that they point us to our emotions and our feelings, really, in the end, don't they? Because so when I think of divine alchemy, I tend to think of that level of connection that brings us to in unity with our souls, with our higher selves, with the spirit, with the essence of who we are, and brings it in such a way that we connect to the earth element of that, which is a matter element of that, and the Gaia element of that. But we also connect with it from a universal point of view, where we actually bring that level of expansiveness, that level of higher wisdom into that connection. And for me, in my work, is really bringing people's consciousness and awareness to that process of opening up to the universal aspect of the divine, but also really honoring the physical matter aspect of the divine. So honoring their bodies, but also honoring their souls and their spirits. And bringing it in such a practical way that actually they're able to use it in their and utilize it in their day-to-day life. Just talk a little bit about where you come from with that.
Well, there's no synchronicity here at all, is there? I mean, I think you summed it up pretty well. It's yeah, to me, it's the primal physical nature of ourselves is just as sacred as
Yes.
that universal, multidimensional divine nature.
Yes.
And I talk a lot about in my work. I talk a lot about sacred geometry, symbolism, but all of it coming back to that golden mean divine proportion, the mathematical equation that actually we are built on, and that is the mathematical equation of unconditional love.
Yes.
And the symbols that I work with, they're almost like, I did a talk the other night about symbolism, and it's almost like in alchemical terms, the symbols that I work with, it's different to signs. Signs kind of point to things that we know. And it was Carl Jung that talked about the difference between signs and symbols.
Yes.
Symbols kind of represent what we don't know.
Yes.
And in that way, I love working with I work with sacred symbols, and each of them are actually built on that golden mean proportion. And I didn't even realize that until a couple of weeks ago, but it's golden energy. And it is all literally about turning your life into gold. It's an alchemy. So it's almost like the more you work with these symbols, it's just like meditating on them.
Yes.
It's a way to transcend the logic, transcend the rational mind, because the rational mind is the thing that sort of keeps us trapped in, the daily grind, in the things that bog us down, the things that make us unhappy, and allows us to transcend that and access what we call the higher mind or the divine mind, and realize that we're actually multidimensional. And what I'm finding is actually it's like an alchemical process, because the more that you work with these symbols and these energies, and probably much the same as your work, is that more and more of these, what I like to call ancient memory, starts to resurface. We're remembering who we are. We're remembering, the primal aspect of our nature. We're remembering the celestial aspect of our nature.
Yes.
And we're realizing that we're much more than just physical matter. We're divine beings in this physical temple, really.
Yes.
And it's all divinely perfect. We walk around as humans thinking, we beat ourselves up. We're really mean to ourselves on a daily basis, I think. We've been taught to question ourselves and to be hard on ourselves in a very basic kind of 3D way of looking at this. And the work that I think both you and I do allows you to unlock that and be more compassionate and more loving.
Yes.
And honor yourself with more unconditional love in the simplest terms.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that I've you know come really to the forefront of my mind is that basically when we actually honor the divinity within us, there's a level of respect for ourselves that for me it wasn't there before in this way. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like you're holding something really precious within you, and to respect that and to honor that is such an important thing. And to actually come back to the process, come back to the mind, especially like when you're saying where we have those thoughts that contract us, you know, that make us smaller, to actually recognize that and come back to the honoring of the divine within. Because the honoring of the divine within isn't about sort of like contracting, it isn't about tightness, it isn't about tension, you know. And it could be the simplest thing for me sometimes is that sense of actually closing my eyes and going, where does love want to go? Where does love want to shine within my own body? And sort of like seeking out those layers of contractions that could be sort of like in the solar plexus, or it could be, you know, in the shoulders or in the neck, and breathing into that and letting go to let the divine in. It's a big part of yeah, so the whole really understanding, appreciating and holding the fact that we are divine beings.
And it's understanding that there's nothing wrong with us.
Yes.
So that even when you're having a shit day, or
Yeah.
even when you're feeling like an awful human being, or
Yeah.
even when you have an emotion coming up that's like, oh, I don't like this feeling of guilt, or this feeling of shame, or this feeling of jealousy, or this feeling of anger, or whatever,
Yeah.
that you can, it's being able to still love yourself despite those kind of what we call shadow aspects.
Yes.
And as you know, as you go further into this work, I'm sure you know, you know, we can often unlock shadow memory too, which is, you know, the memory of perhaps past lives where we might not have been good people. You know,
Yeah.
we're not all light and fluffy. It's all love and light.
Yeah.
That's almost putting a lid on, you know, some very valid and different aspects of ourselves. We need to love ourselves wholly.
Yes.
And you can't love yourself wholly if you're not willing to look into the mystery and to look into the shadow and to honour that as well.
Absolutely.
So it's really powerful work, this work.
Yeah, and for me, seeking out the shadow has been one of the most gratifying things that I've done for myself, without doubt. And it's one of the things that I say to other people is like basically looking at the things within you that serve you and don't serve you is really important for each and every adult human being, I think. I think we deserve to give it to ourselves, but also the rest of humanity really do need us to do that, you know, need us to seek out those areas that are contracted. Because literally it feels for me, and when I talk about alchemy as well, is that we all come with a nugget of divinity that we're here to share with the world to a large degree. You know, we're here to actually, there's a purpose to our being here. It's something that's always been quite, you know, present in my actual knowing of my human existence. It's like there's a purpose for me here, you know. And I at first I didn't actually understand or know what that purpose was, and so there was kind of like it became a bit fraught. It's like, well, what is it? What is it? And the thing that I've actually realized is it's something that's continuously unfolding, and so to you know, relax into the unfolding of it is really important. But for us to bring that purpose forward, for us to honor the divinity within us and bring that purpose forward, we actually need to make a pact with ourselves to look for the areas that are contracted, you know, and expand those out.
Not always the most easy.
No, at all. But the thing, yeah, I mean, that it could be, for me, one of the things that I've realized with this is that you have to have a sense of humor with your contractions. But also there could be a lot of pain there, and there's layering to the pain body as well. So you fight, sometimes you get that big expansive release and you think, oh, I'm done with that, you know. And then 2 months down the line, you're like, you know, you're staring at the same thing again for another layer to be released. And it's actually really coming to that understanding of having patience with yourself to come back to the table time and time again and do the work, you know?
Yeah, it does feel like we're going round in circles, but there's that reminder that it's not just a straight circle, it's a spiral.
Yes.
A spiral back around, but you're always kind of moving through, not necessarily up, because everything is kind of here and now.
Yeah.
We have this up and down, the old heaven and hell adage. Yeah. It's like, but it's, you know, it's kind of all here in our consciousness, really. There's kind of nothing, in my experience, there isn't really anything outside of us. We're all part of the whole.
Yes.
So it's acknowledging that. I also love, I love it when, you know, when somebody else triggers you, realizing that they're just a mirror of what's going on inside you. So if, say, you're experiencing bullying, or somebody is, you know, I went through an experience when I was first starting to sort of come out of my shell and talk about this, because I used to work in magazines, and I was in a very normal box and, you know, living a very normal life. And when I started to open up and try and talk to friends or people around me about it, I found myself being bullied. And then one of the magazines I was editing, collapsed, and I found myself blamed for the collapse of the magazine, which obviously it wasn't my fault, but because I was the editor, I was the face of it.
Yeah.
And it was such a challenging time, and because I realized that what it was doing, what the whole process was doing, was weeding out those parts of me that cared too much what other people thought of me.
Yes.
And that part of me that needed approval, that part of me that needed acknowledgement, and that needed to be seen as, I'm a good person, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. And actually, do you know what?
Yeah.
Who cares what other people think?
Yes.
It's what you think of yourself that really matters the most.
Yeah.
And that is such, you know, I actually got such a great gift out of that, because that's enabled me to have the courage now to step into the work that I have to do. And I don't care if someone thinks I'm a Looney Tune. I mean, for every person that thinks, oh, that's a bit weird, there are so many people waking up on this planet that need this knowledge. They need this wisdom. They know they're different. And they know that the way the world is working currently is not healthy. It's toxic, and it needs to change. Yeah. So it's like the beginning of this huge wave of change on the planet, which we have a lot of sludge to plow through. We have a lot of stuff, collective shadow as well, that needs to come to the surface. And a lot of us have kind of been through it or are going through it on an individual level. But when you look at, you know, what's happening in the news, it's totally being mirrored. It's kind of like macrocosm, microcosm, isn't it? It's we're all a reflection of each other. It's collective fears coming up.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that, again, you know, has come to the forefront of my mind, the fact that we produce mirrors for ourselves. And so, like, you know, you were saying about basically sometimes coming across people who don't get the work, or who kind of, for me, when that happens, the question for me is always, what is it that I need to see in this? You know, because obviously there's like, I've attracted, you know, sometimes you attract someone to you, and you know, they're sort of like the antagonist. It's like kind of devil's advocate almost. It's like bringing out, you know, the parts of you that that are contracted because you haven't settled into that part. And in one way, you know, there's an element where, and for me, that it's kind of like that don't shoot the messenger thing. It keeps coming up time and time again. But the only thing is, like, when you're in the midst of it, it doesn't feel that way at all. It doesn't feel like this person's bringing a divine message to you about releasing your contraction. It just feels like, you know, but actually coming back to, well, what, you know, why have I attracted this? And what is the message that this person's giving me? You know, what is it how is it that they're triggering that in me? And what is it in me that needs to be released? So I don't get triggered in that way.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the deep work is.
Yeah.
And like I say, in the moment and of the moment, it can be, you know, sometimes this work happens in retrospect. And I know for me, a lot of times it happens in retrospect, where like the person's been and gone, and you've gotten angry, like I've gotten really angry, and it's kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe. And then, like, you come back and you're like, okay, so there was a message in here. What's the message? Yeah. Where is it? Where is that pain? Where is that kind of contraction? Where is it that I'm not accepting myself? That was what it boils down to.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-love is where it all starts. It's almost like if every person on the planet loved themselves fully and wholly,
yes,
the whole planet would be healed.
Yeah, and then you have that.
Yeah,
you've got the acceptance that people could think what they want to think. They're entitled to. It's not a problem, you know.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with me, it's okay. It's like, it's fine. You have your opinions and I have my opinions, and we can meet in the middle in divinity but yeah, you can go off and think what you think. That's okay. So basically, it's only when I've got something contracted in me that I can take what you've said
Mm.
and actually apply it and feel pain by it, you know?
Exactly. It's
So
that
then it's kind of like turning the lens inwards, isn't it? It's kind of like...
yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of interested in like personal stories, so I want to know more about what led you into this work. How did you start? How did you get into this kind of work?
Well, for me, it's always been really present. It's always been, even as a child, you know, that in indigo, you know, the indigo child, and like basically how they talk about the indigo child, and people can romanticize about the indigo child. So the indigo child being that person that came through and feels really like they don't particularly belong on planet Earth. There's kind of like an energy and a resonance that is not seeming to match the environment that they're in, and so there's kind of like a lot of challenges that come out of that. And so, you know, sometimes people can romanticize about it, but the actuality of it, for me, it's like I came through, and since I was able to make conscious sense of myself as a being, there was always that sense of I'm here to do something. And you know, when people talk about you know, forgetting. So like you forget what you forget about the soul's journey, and you sort of start afresh as a human body. For me, there was always a big thread that was coming through going, you're here to do something, you're here to do something. And that drove me mad for a little while, you know, because it's kind of like, well, what am I here to do? You know? But I ended up I studied business in university and then went into media advertising, so for the BBC and for Music Week. So I was like in magazines as well. But on the advertising side of it. And that world taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about matter. And it taught me a lot about being real, you know, like basically. And I feel like it was a necessary part of my journey as well, because so much of my work is making the esoteric understandable and practical. For myself first, you know, so it's like, how do I walk with my divinity when I'm sitting having a glass of wine with my friends, or like when I'm in the supermarket, or do you know what I mean? It's like bringing it to the reality of your day-to-day existence. And I feel like the work that I did in media and that whole world has really allowed me to put that lens onto my spirituality. And so there was a shift from media advertising into body work, where I fully went into body work. So like massage, sports massage, Reiki, and really integrating body work and energy work together. And so I ended up going to Thailand and studying massage, and going to India and studying massage, and really kind of, that was really nuts and bolts for me. I really loved it. But as I was going through, it felt like there was a transition going on, and it was becoming more about coaching. So people would come for the body work, but like literally what they were leaving on the tables was their stories, you know, and the transitions that they were making through the story. So the body work became something that allowed them to come to my service, but really the vocalizing and the verbalizing of their story was what was coming out. And so I was finding myself talking a lot through massage treatment, which actually anybody who learns massage is like, normally is kind of like in the learning experience, they tell you to shut up and you know, give the client the space to actually sort of like the silence. But that wasn't what was going on coming towards the end of that and the transition. It was very much about being vocal. So then it felt like, okay, well, the coaching, and I was feeling the transition coming in. So the coaching came in, where it's basically mixing the coaching and the energy work together, and again just bringing that divinity into the coaching process for people. So the energy work is about bringing them to their own concept of what divine is for them, and what it is to sit with your own divinity and walk with your own divinity and have it in your blood, sort of things. What about you? Tell me about you and your journey.
There's no similarities going on here. I am looking back to my childhood. I was always aware of other realities or other worlds, and I remember being really little, and I would be falling asleep at night, and there would be faces peering in at me. I would be seeing like so much. It was like a film playing across the back of my eyelids. And it's really reawoken now. And for a long time I shut it down because I was just told I had a very vivid imagination and my imaginary friends weren't real. And, I do know that a lot of my imaginary friends were guides and I still have them.
Yes.
Luckily my mum she's very psychic as well, so she knows a lot of stuff, but she was very Catholic at the time. So there was a lot of angels in my world. So I grew up knowing about the angels, and I've since now taken that work further, and I understand angels as archetypes or as energies. They're kind of representative of our relationship to God, so they're like those different facets. So it's really us. It's really an aspect of our higher self.
Yeah.
When you invoke Michael, the Hebrew language, the phonetics of the Hebrew language, which again is all built on sacred geometry. Every letter of the Hebrew alphabet fits into that six-pointed star, which is one of the Platonic solids of our energy field. Yes. It's absolutely fascinating. So the Hebrew ancient language, the phonetics of it invokes that energy of Michael or Mikael, God is my protector, within you. It's wonderful. So everything comes back, interestingly, to mathematics, which is like the missing link. And I failed maths at school. If they taught it like this, I would have absolutely loved it. But, like you, I was a poet, and I've always been a poet, and I'm a channel as well. And I never really knew what channeling was. I didn't know that I was doing it. But every time I would write a poem, it was like this incredible wisdom that would come out of nowhere, even when I remember being 12 and 13 and writing these words and not even necessarily knowing what was coming through me at the time. And so I wanted to write. I was like, I need to write, I want to write. So I kind of... Well, my parents were obviously like, well, you can't do poetry for a living. Go and become a journalist or something. And so I ended up getting an internship at a magazine in Australia, and then I came over here and then went into a career in magazines, TV, and then celeb magazines. And I was really like, this does not mesh with me because I am not a gossip, and I ended up working for a celebrity gossip magazine. Yeah. I was sent off to all the celebrity parties and to dig the dirt on them, and I ended up making friends with them all. And my editor was like, stop being so nice. But they're just people like us. And so that was quite fascinating. And then I ended up editing a Mind, Body, Spirit magazine here, which was a fantastic training ground. And then the universe just went, right, it's time. You are getting on your path. And I'd been training as a healer through all of that. So I'd done things like theta healing, one command. I was learning a lot about how the subconscious affects our daily reality. And I still use a lot of similar techniques. I've sort of created my own technique around it now, where I just kind of tune into the higher self, and I can kind of see as well I have this ability to see people's past lives, which aren't really past lives, they're all happening now, and it's all about different aspects of the soul and the personality in order to figure out what the kind of core belief or contract is that might be blocking them in their daily reality now. So I might be shown a life, some of these lifetimes aren't even on this planet. Like some of them are kind of quite galactic lifetimes with certain people. But it could be a lifetime, obviously, from, say, like the 1100s or the 1700s, witch trials or Inquisition or whatever. And I'll be shown sort of, especially if it's someone particularly psychic or that has a particular healing gift that they're really blocked or fearful about using. It's usually because they've been persecuted in another lifetime. But it's amazing. It's I never really knew what I was doing. It was always there. And then eventually what happened while I was training to do my healing work, the Mind, Body, Spirit magazine, it all just collapsed. And it was like the proverbial rug being pulled out from under me. And I was just thrown into turmoil. And it was almost like it was a massive breaking apart. And there was going along with it, there was a lot of other stuff in my personal life that happened at the same time, and there were health challenges and there were personal challenges with relationships and friendships and stuff like that. But it was it was like I was taken to ground zero. It was like, this is everything you think you are not.
Yes.
You are not an editor. You are not the person that you have built up this personality around. And in a way, it's been such a blessing. It was like a massive paring out. It's like taking off a costume. And it was layers of also insecurity and things like that. And it really is, and this is around the time as well that precious wisdom came through the healing system that I use the symbols with. It came through in a channeled meditation. The symbols started coming through for about a year, or maybe about 6 to 8 months actually, of early 2012. And then finally I in meditation was given an attunement with it in October 2012. Went to Egypt, and then when I got back from Egypt, that's when the magazine collapsed and everything collapsed. So the symbols have a lot to do with it, but I mean, it's powerful, powerful work. You have to kind of almost be prepared to. It's really warrior stuff, isn't it? It's warrior of the heart. It's, do you want to live in your truth, or do you want to stay in the box? Red pill or blue pill? And I chose to go down the rabbit hole. So that's kind of where I am now, and it's wonderful. It's so fulfilling, and the more I relax and trust, I've gone from a career where I wanted to be the editor of Marie Claire. It's so not who I am now. And now I have a life where I don't go near an office. I'm allergic to working in an office. I have beautiful, flexible hours. I think it's about valuing yourself as well, and I earn more doing less hours, which is wonderful and so fulfilling, and I can help other people get to that place as well. And it's as we know, it's not without its challenges, and it's almost like the further you go into your divine power, the more the challenges come up, but you are equipped to deal with them.
Yes, yeah. And it's kind of not being afraid of that process, because the dismantling process, like you're talking about there, where basically you suddenly find that the container that you actually built for yourself with your human self
it was all lies.
is not the container that your divine self or your soul was wanting. And so literally there's a whole dismantling process of this isn't who you are. And that could be really painful, that could be really painful for some people. For me personally speaking, I had the dismantling process, but it was really something that I actually did myself. I picked myself up, moved somewhere that I didn't know anybody, and left everything else behind, because there was a thing within me that was saying, if I'm going to actually say to somebody, trust your divinity, I must know what that means. You know what I mean? I must seriously know what that means, because otherwise it's kind of like just breathing out hot air at someone, And so to take myself into that process of really discovering that, and in some, it's been challenging, but on the other side of the coin, because I did it, because I kind of like elected to do that, the challenges, I could meet them wholeheartedly. Do you know what I mean? Because I knew why I did it. I knew why I put myself in that situation. And so when I actually see people actually going through that within themselves in their own lives, I can actually talk to them from a place of complete experience and identifying with what
they stepped off the cliff,
and identifying with what they're going through. And I feel like I did step off the cliff, but there was my own higher self was whispering so loudly that step off the cliff, you're going to be okay, it's all right, but you need to discover that for yourself. And I feel like that's part of the human journey without a doubt, because we can so convince ourselves that what's not working is working if we've got a comfortability bubble around it. It's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, no, it's not going to be okay, Yeah. So take me through a process that you do. We were talking about sort of exchanging processes.
I would love to. This is actually this is a little process that I actually did the other night through a talk I did with the London College of Spirituality, and it's a little guided journey to reconnect with your higher self, with your divine self, and I use a particular symbol as a gateway to higher consciousness. And this symbol, it's actually the Masonic square and compass. symbol.
Right. Yes.
And interestingly, that might bring up some fears in people because obviously with the associations, it's often been associated with Illuminati and things like that. But actually, this symbol is it's a symbol of sacred geometry. It's a symbol of our divinity, and it is a symbol of unconditional love. The square and the compass are the two tools that you need to create sacred geometry. And it is also as above, so below. If anyone hasn't seen it, it kind of forms that sort of diamond shape.
Yes.
And that shape also comes from the Vesica Pisces, the angles of the Vesica Pisces, which are mathematically form a golden mean triangle and a golden mean rectangle.
Yes.
But it's this gateway which we're going to go through.
Okay.
So I'm just going to drink some water. So I work on the golden ray. It's a golden energy. Obviously, the golden mean is part of that, and this is all to do with alchemy, which is turning lead into gold. So really, this process is taking our human self and the parts of us that that we don't think are so great, and adding more and more of that divine golden energy so that we can really integrate our divinity into the here and now and understand that actually we don't have to do anything because we already are divine in the here and now. Even our physical bodies are built on this divine equation. So do you want to join in, Tash? Do you want
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this.
Your eyes. And I just want to start by, if you could just center your consciousness, your awareness in your heart. And then just breathe in light. Breathe golden light up from the core of Mother Earth. Beautiful, warm and golden light all the way up through your feet, through your legs, up into your body, all the way up into your heart, washing down over your shoulders, your arms, down into your hands, your fingertips. Bringing that golden light up into your throat, your head, your face, and feeling yourself completely enveloped in this gorgeous, nurturing golden light. Pure love from Mother Earth. And then imagine a waterfall or a shower of pure white light coming down from infinite source above you. And feel this beautiful white light flowing, almost like warm sunlight, down over your crown, your face, down into your neck, your chest, down your shoulders, into your arms, into your fingertips. Feel it flowing down into your abdomen, your hips, down over your legs, your thighs, your calves, your shins, into your feet, and feel the golden light and the white light mixing to form a beautiful pillar of golden, sparkling white light. And breathe this light into your heart. And as you breathe this light into your heart, you're breathing in more and more love. And as you breathe out, just let go of anything that is causing you a worry at this time. Let go of any negative thoughts or feelings. And it's just through pure intention that you are able to do this. It's the easiest thing. And then I want you to take your hands and place them in a mudra, and we're going to take the first two fingers and your thumb and just put them together. And this is called the Kubera mudra. This is a mudra of completion, of wholeness. And then if you could imagine that beautiful golden Masonic square and compass coming around you. If you have any resistance to that symbol, you can imagine that it's a golden diamond shape. Just place yourself in a golden diamond. And really feel yourself embody that golden diamond shape. You're almost as though you are that symbol. And just feel the energy of that symbol as it pulsates and radiates golden light around you. And as you sit within this golden shape, you can see before you a golden tunnel of this diamond shape opening up before you, stretching off into the distance. And you begin to travel in consciousness through this golden tunnel. And you can feel this golden tunnel snaking up through different levels. It goes up into the sky, out past the Earth's atmosphere, up through the stars and the planets, through the Milky Way galaxy, snaking up through to the very edge of the universe, feeling a deep indigo blue, and then suddenly you're into a velvety black, safely encased in this golden tunnel, snaking through. And suddenly at the end of the tunnel, you can see the brightest light, just a spark of this light radiating towards you, and you know that you're traveling towards this light. And so you carry on traveling towards this pure, pure light. And it gets bigger and bigger, and brighter and brighter, and suddenly you're immediately out of the tunnel and into the light. You find yourself completely enveloped and surrounded by the brightest light you have ever seen. And you feel yourself drinking in this light. You're taking it into your cells, your molecules, your atoms. You breathe it in, you drink it in, you absorb it in. You start to feel yourself becoming this light, almost dissolving into this light like an aspirin in water. You realize that this is your own divine light. This is the energy of your own creation, the source of you. And so there is no separation between you and this pure spark of divine light. And as you let yourself just relax into this beautiful light, you can feel your connection to everything in existence. And this connection is a connection of pure unconditional love. And you recognize that your entire being is unconditional love. There is nothing that you could have ever thought, said, or done that could deviate from love, because you are built on it. It's who you are. So as you feel yourself completely merging with this light now, you're going to bring this light back down through the tunnel, streaking like a ray or a laser of this light. You find yourself traveling back through the tunnel, back through the void, back through the galaxies, the stars, the planets, through the Milky Way, traveling back down into Earth's atmosphere, down into the sky, and you can see a light at the end of the tunnel, and you realize that this is the light of your own Antakarana, your own crown chakra. And you head towards that light now. And as you reach your crown chakra and step back into your body, a huge spark of light goes off as you bring your divine light back into your physical body. And you find yourself back in your heart center once again, with that beautiful golden symbol still around you. And you expand your consciousness now from your heart center, feeling the light that you have brought with you from your soul self to mingle and merge with your physical self. You feel your whole body now radiating and pulsating with this pure divine light. You can feel your fingers tingling with it, your crown tingling. Feel this light filling every cell, molecule and atom of your physical being. And feel yourself radiating love and light. And know that this is with you. This is you, and you take this light wherever you go. And just allow the awareness of that tunnel to now dissolve. And just ask that any portals or doorways be closed that may have opened. Allow the feeling or the vision of that symbol just to dissipate, to drop away. And then you can just open your hands in a gesture of receiving. And just feel yourself receiving any gifts that your higher self wishes to bring to you. And you may even receive messages from your higher self. You might receive guidance. You might just even have a color or an emotion come into mind. And then just take a nice deep breath in and reconnect to your everyday 3D reality. Feel the weight of your body on the chair. Bring the room that you are in into your conscious awareness. And then take a deep breath in and allow your eyes to open. You look so blissed out, girl.
That was amazing. That was amazing. That was kind of like the visuals of that was really, really beautiful, and the combination of the gold and the sparkling light was stunning. And then bringing that light forward and talking about infusing the body with it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, honey.
Oh, bless you. That was gorgeous. Thank you. I can keep sort of like closing my eyes again. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, basically, I feel like this is complete. I would love to share what I do, but it feels like what you've just gifted us with has completed this circle between us. It really does feel that way.
Oh, thank you, Tash.
Yes. And it's actually been absolutely an honor to discover more about you and your work, and also just to sit in circle and feel that divine energy just flowing between us. It's been really beautiful. So thank you for being here.
Darling. And